Kelly, feel free to argue. How you doing? Wanted to talk today a bit about a couple of things that may not initially seem related, but I think they are. One of them is the Portland Christmas tree bomber, and the other one is the recent, I guess they're using the term mega leak from WikiLeaks now. It's it's starting. I guess these are going to trickle out as opposed to just dumping all the documents right at the beginning the way they have with the Iraq and Afghan war logs. But first, let's talk about the guy from Portland whose name is Mohamed Osman, and I believe the last one is pronounced Mohamud, but I may be wrong. And I think this is once again one of these interesting cases where you have to kind of give up the part of you that acknowledges the fact that this guy was willing at a certain point to blow up a bomb and blow up a whole bunch of innocent people. The same way that you have to kind of give up the initial prejudices you have when you think about the group of people who were accused last year of attempting to blow up a synagogue in New York. Now, Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! Did an interesting segment on those people, the ones that were accused in the New York incident of the thwarted bombing of the synagogue, and found out that the way in which these people were sort of recruited by the FBI and then had this whole plot pretty much given to them by the FBI. And it makes you start to really wonder about whether or not these people would have engaged in the same kind of activities if the FBI was not present, if the FBI wasn't helping them along, giving them assistance, connecting them, making suggestions. So, and this is another case. This guy was very clearly, I think, entrapped by the FBI. Like, for example, at one point, he was prevented from getting a job, which probably would have caused him to completely lose interest in this, whole activity the FBI was trying to get him to do. Going back once again to the Democracy Now! Segment, though, it pointed out that they used the difficulties that those people were having. Like, one guy was having money problems and was worried about, like, losing his restaurant. And it was the monetary incentives that were being offered for him to do this that I think, are arguably more of a reason for him to do what he did than the ideological concerns. Which gets down to a very critical kind of dividing point in terms of what is the difference between catching a criminal and entrapping somebody. And it comes down to the whole idea of intrinsic motivation, whether or not that person can be reasonably argued that they would have done the exact same things whether or not the authorities were involved at all. And I think in both of these instances, it's on very, very shaky ground. I think it's very telling, for example, that the key conversation that is supposed to establish that Mohammed was actually intrinsically motivated is one that the FBI says they failed to record for technical reasons. So they have literally dozens of hours of recorded conversations between their contacts and this person, Mohammed. But the one conversation which is supposed to establish that he is intrinsically motivated is the one that they screwed up. And so you're put in the position of having to just trust the FBI when they tell you that this guy chose to, become a bomber rather than just engage in prayer or other more peaceful ways that he could serve the cause. It's interesting that, if he really was this kind of rabidly insane, jihadist, that they don't have lots and lots of conversation which establishes very clearly that he's intrinsically motivated. You still have to trust them. So let's move on in terms of trust and go from a micro level to a macro level. When we talk about the WikiLeaks info bomb that's just been released, or well, actually it's going to be trickling out over the course of the next week or so. But already, you have huge revelations. Now, the government, of course, and when I say the government, I mean everyone in the government. I mean, there's very few things about which there is any kind of substantial bipartisan agreement in Washington. But hating Julian Assange, that's one of them. They can all get behind that. John Kerry, Barack Obama, and of course the Republicans. I mean, Sarah Palin saying that, we should be hunting him down like a terrorist, which in today's America, means that we should be having some person go and just put a cap in his ass. Because that's what it means. I mean, see, Sarah Palin's already really excited about this extrajudicial murder program that we've got going. I mean, she wants to try it out. She wants to order some people to take some people out, Isn't it exciting to think about President Palin having that power? But anyway, that's another video that I've already done. The interesting thing here is that everybody's lining up to tell you to trust the government. Well, what do the WikiLeaks leaks prove? That the government is systematically lying to you about things that are really important. Probably the one that I think, at least for me, is the most significant at this point, is the fact that we coordinated with the Yemeni government to lie, for them to lie to their people and for us to lie to our people about the drone strikes that we were firing off against Al-Qaeda members in Yemen, which, of course, is probably why those bombs were sent back to us. The whole UPS bomb scare thing from Yemen. Why do they hate us? Well, as usual, it's because we're dropping bombs on them. But, the U.S. is not terribly popular with the Yemeni rank and file, so it would be a substantial embarrassment for the government to coordinate anti-terrorism stuff, otherwise known as bombing their own people, with the United States. So they decided to lie about it, and we decided to lie about it, and we had conversations about how we were all going to work out this lying thing and make sure that there were no cracks in it. And so just remember, when you hear everybody lining up to say that, Julian Assange is a terrorist and that he has blood on his hands and that WikiLeaks should be declared a terrorist organization, what those people are saying to you is that the government needs to have an untrammeled right and ability to lie to you about whatever it wants, whenever it wants. That this is important to the government's ability to conduct affairs of state. Now, I realize that there are some messy realities in diplomacy. But I just can't help feeling, given lots and lots of recent evidence, that this secrecy is rarely beneficial. In fact, I think if you want to argue that it's beneficial, I think the burden of proof is on you, because I have lots of recent examples that everybody knows about where secret information could have averted significant problems. So, and that's all aside from the fact that the documents themselves establish that systematic state lying about important things that the American public has the right to know about is something that's occurring. It's occurring all the time. It's a matter of course, and it is unremarkable. So, when I look at these things, in both of these instances, you are being asked to trust the government. On one level, you're being asked to trust the government so that it can further invade your privacy. And the reverse is taking place regarding WikiLeaks, where you are being told that you should not invade the government's privacy. So, you can see that information is a one-way door. It's something that goes into the government and doesn't go out to you and me. So, that's my reading on these two incidents, which kind of have people's attention right now. But hey, this has been Zach Elliott, and you can certainly feel free to argue. Take care, everyone.